So here's the deal. I needed to get back to podcasting, and I was sitting around on TikTok surrounded by all these super cool people, and it hit me, why don't I just chill with some of my friends from TikTok and talk about stuff that is on my mind for a little while? So here it is. Here's the For the Proletariat podcast.
Proletarian. For the proletarian. For the proletarian. For the proletarian. For the proletarian.
Making faces. All right. Hi, everybody. I'm Super Solid. You are watching another episode of the For the Proletariat podcast, home of the Pink Proletariat, and today I am joined by two juggernauts. I'm talking about big-time hustlers in this TikTok game. All right. The first thing I want to do, I want to introduce you to a good friend of mine. This is my brother. Let's talk to Jeffrey. Jeff from End of a Species is the creator of End of a Species. He does deconstruction work. You know what, Jeff? You tell the people about you.
Deconstruction, Schmeconstruction. So yeah, I'm Jeff from End of a Species, and I am the founder of the End of a Species podcast. We are basically of the conclusion that humanity has had a good run, but it's now over. Yeah, that's it for us. Extinction is right around the corner. You should subscribe to the Extinction Files to know more about that. But yeah, that's basically the deal, is we don't know how to think. We don't know how to fight arthritis, and therefore humans could put, if you want to know more about that, End of a Species is where you want to be. But that's it for me.
Okay, next I am joined by the incomparable, the insatiable, the incredible, the indomitable, the abominable, the clavicle. No, I'm going to introduce you to a good friend of mine by the name of Santana. Santana, why don't you tell everybody about yourself, man?
Yeah. Santana Jones, political, streamer, debater, interviews. I do a little bit of everything. They say the hardest working man on these TikTok streets. I don't know if I would say that, but someone who is prone to good conversation if it can be had and just pushing the limits of what people will engage in. So that's me, pro-Black AF, and just trying to make a difference any way that I can.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for that. So, Santana, do me a favor. And Jeff, stand by because the same question is coming your way. Santana, can you tell me? Let me preface it with this. My wife and I have been struggling a little bit, admittedly, because I'm an atheist and my wife is a Christian. And my work, as you know, is incredibly pro-Black. It is all about the liberation of Black people. It's about the liberation of the proletariat, but I'm Black. I'm Black as fuck. And I want to liberate Black people. And I get this itchy feeling that the Black church has been in sometimes very helpful in that space, or in the space of Black liberation. And sometimes I feel like it's been very harmful. Can you tell me what your experience is with the Black church or Black deconstruction or, religion in general?
Yeah, no, for sure. So for me, I grew up as a Southern Baptist, right? I'm from South Carolina. I spent my entire life in the church. When I was younger, I would always go to church, and it was funny. I never opened up a Bible, but we went to church, we sang, we had a good times, bunch of vibes, bunch of collection plates, hours and hours and hours. And then as I got older and started to pull away, I ended up going off to college and attending another like Baptist church, but I started to look around and I was like, yeah, like they're not really talking about anything. It's just vibes. And so I met someone who was actually a member of the Church of Christ, which is a non-denomination. And so I ended up going to the Church of Christ, and like they really dug into the Bible and really studied it or whatever. And I was like, okay, this is dope. And it's not just vibes. But as I got older and like more aware, I just started watching people who claim to be like Christian, super religious, being some of the worst people you could possibly meet. And I was like, that's interesting, because like if you're a Christian, then aren't you supposed to be a good person? Do good things happen. My name is Earl. But it didn't work out that way. So I ended up just like pulling back as a whole. And it's funny, I was talking to my wife about this, and she was like, when's the last time you went to church? I was like, 2019. and my wife and I met in 2020, right? And so when people like have this conversation, I've always had the perspective that like the Bible is an outline, right? I don't believe in the Bible, but I do believe in some of the quote unquote teachings. And like my entire life now is focused around the premise that I don't like organized religion because people use their religion as a sword to hurt people instead of a shield to help and protect people, which, I mean, the premise of religion is supposed to be like being a good person, doing good things. So people always say like, hey, are you a Christian or whatever? I'm like, no, I'm not a Christian. I do believe in a higher power. And I don't know if it's just comfort or whatever the case may be, but I think there's something. I think it would be like just hubris to think that like humans are the pinnacle of like life, but I believe in aliens as well. So like I believe in God, I believe in aliens, but I'm not religious, but I've seen the way that religion has been weaponized, especially against Black people, especially Black Southern churches.
Okay, so it sounds like you started off with a kind of an ingrained religious path, maybe handed down to you from your parents. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a really common experience for Black folks, for Black Christians at least. Jeff, how about you, man? What
Well,
does your journey look like in 3 to 5 minutes?
very similar, except that I'm a young Black Dominican from New York. And there are a lot of similarities, but Dominicans in New York are mostly Roman Catholic. So it's a specific regimen. And you go to church on Sunday, you do your 1 hour, you go to the Spanish Mass, and then everything else in your life is, whether it's good or bad, like pray to make sure that everything gets better. And the entire neighborhood can stay exactly the same, and a tsunami can roll through it. And you just hear, the prayers come like soon after. And if somebody gets a bonus at work, you have to give thanks to God. It's very much ingrained in the culture. It's not uncommon to see rosaries and the what we would call the Caucasian version of Jesus hanging in a specific room in an apartment building, just dedicated to that, right? As far as the churches go, there are, even in the Spanish Mass, there's whole sections that are still in Latin. You're sitting there with very few people understand what's going on, but they just go through the motions anyway because it's part of the faith. So that's how I was brought up. For a long time, as far as my upbringing, it was the thing you did. Like on Sunday, you wake up anticipating putting on your church shoes, your nice pants, shirt, suit, clip-on tie, and go in and make sure you don't say anything out of turn. Say the prayers when you got to say the prayers, then get in the car, don't say nothing, go back home. But that's just the thing. It was just going through those motions. When I got to the point where I got to think about it more, that's when it was like, wow, why am I doing this? Do I really believe in this? And we can go into like the stories of my deconstruction for hours, but all in all, it just fell apart the more I thought about it. So that's my experience. But it's just an intersection of where culture and repetition meets what you think, and they don't gel. They don't match up.
Wow, man. Your experience really seems to differ because it was Catholic a little bit, but there are some real common threads that I hear in there of you got to wake up in the morning, you got to go put on your clothes, you got to go to the the church or the what is it, the chapel? Is it chapel? I don't know how
The
mass
temple,
and stuff works.
the tabernacle.
The tabernacle.
Got to go to the tabernacle. Yeah.
There's some real commonalities there. But one thing that I think there was a thread between the two of you is, Santana, you said that the people who are supposed to be the most loving in your experience have been kind of the nastiest.
Yeah.
Right?
No. And not only that, like you take a look at the faith leaders and like the people that's supposed to be leading the flock are often the ones that, his wife is right there, but his mistress is right there in the church. Or, he's supposed to be giving back, but he's pulling up in a Bentley and the rest of the, church member, like the church is falling apart, but they got that building fund that's been going for about 20 years. They put a couple of shingles on, but that building fund is still going. So.
Man, that's a big deal. That's a big deal. Jeff, have you experienced like you mentioned people, you're supposed to thank God for a promotion or a raise or something like that. Is there any, for lack of a better word, do you get any grifter vibes from your experience?
Not as much. There's this thing in Dominican culture called el peso de la vergüenza, which is the dollar for like self-respect or like not being embarrassed. You're supposed to always have a dollar in your wallet. My parents used to tell me like if something happens and the ambulance has to take you, you don't want them to think you a vagabond or whatever. And the same thing happens in the church. Like when the collection plate comes along, if you give so much as a dollar, you're good. So we'd be in the row and my father would pull out his wallet, grab a whole bunch of dollar bills and hand $1 to me, my sister, my brother, my mom, and everybody would just put the dollar in the thing. And this is before I even had a concept of what the hell I was putting in that basket. Like, what's money, right? I know we spend it for stuff, but I don't know what I'm doing by putting it in this basket. Where's it going? What are they doing with it? All of that was foreign to me, but it wasn't like there wasn't a feel of like what you see in a lot of the mega churches where it's like give, 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 and you're going to get something back in return. It was really just routine and ritualistic.
Wow. Okay. I'm going to shift gears just a little bit here before we get into the meat and potatoes. Am I the only one with a religious or spiritual spouse between us?
Well, so my wife is my ex-wife was wholly religious. I mean, like over like I'm gonna beat you over the head with my religion and every single like Jeff was saying, if you breathe this way, then thank God for the way I just took that breath. Like, but my wife now, she balances me out really well.
More
So
this peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
yeah, exactly. I remember one time she, because I have two boys, she told one of my boys to pray before he ate a piece of candy.
Was there any explanation as to why?
Gotta be thankful, for God for that Jolly Rancher, right? I mean, like the candy's good all the time, and all the time candy's good, but like that's
Can I ask you? I'm gonna interrupt just real quick. How did your son get that Jolly Rancher? Like, where did he get it from?
I guess we'll never know.
Gee, okay, all right. So, like, my BM is a Jehovah's Witness, right? So my wife is Christian. My BM is a Jehovah's Witness, right? And I worry about that sometimes. Or, well, she's not practicing, but her parents are practicing. So my son's grandparents are practicing Jehovah's Witnesses. I worry sometimes because, my work is an inclusive work. And my community is full of queer and trans and non-binary people, women, like just full of marginalized people. And I worry that a religion that demonizes difference, right? I worry that that is going to, or what is seen as non-traditional, I worry that that's going to like somehow, for lack of a better word, poison my kid and his attitudes towards, non-cisgendered, non-heterosexual, non-Republican. I worry about that. Is that like a fear of yours? Do you deal with that at all?
Yeah, for me, it's more so. It's interesting that now that my boys are starting to get older, you can tell like their personalities are starting to develop and they're starting to become their own. And so, yes, they love their mother, they love their father, like all this other stuff. But they're starting to understand like the difference in people, for lack of better words, and like seeing, that's how mom is, that's how dad is, and they're making good decisions based off of being able to like take in things and understand the world and understand like you don't have to be this way just because your parents are. You don't have to be like this because your mom says that. You don't have to be like this because your dad says this. I'm my own individual person. And like the thing I love about my boys is they focus on being good people, right? And I have this conversation with them all the time. Like, be nice to each other. You guys are brothers. You're supposed to love each other, but like, just be nice to people. Like, that's the only thing that you need to focus on at that age. Like everything else, you can worry about it later, but just be nice. And so like they never weaponize it. They're very inclusive. Like they understand different people, and so it's And the one thing I will say about my ex-wife is like, even though she is wholly super religion, religious. She's not someone who demonizes people. Like, it's funny. She and I have never had a conversation about the queer community before. Like, so I don't even know where she stands. I know that she has family members that's a part of the queer community, but before her, I never had that conversation with her. So,
Man, yeah. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because I feel like this is, on TikTok, we can lose sight of things sometimes because everybody's a damn sociologist. Everybody's a damn therapist. Everybody understands. Oh, they know all the buzzwords. Okay, don't you dare colorism. Okay, my identity for the sociopathy of the. You know what I'm saying? Don't gaslight the flying monkeys, and it's and so. I feel like it's important that we ground, for lack of a better word, regular shit. You know what I mean? I think it's very important that we just talk about, like, we get into the meat and potatoes of a great example. Santana, you just had me on Brunch with My Creator, right? And your focus there was getting to know me, right? Getting the viewers, getting the followers, giving them a chance to actually know the person, right? And that grounds it, humanizes people. So
it's a great series. That's what I say.
Yeah, man, that shit is dope, bro. Like, I don't know. And you said that your wife was the one who came up with that shit. So kudos to Mano.
Whoa! She came up with who was coming on. Hold on now. Hold on.
My bad. Look at that. No. See, buzzwords. This fragile masculinity he's got won't let him give his wife the credit.
Yeah.
No, but man, it's genius, man. It's awesome, man. And so we got to thank management for implementing that, man. We've got to thank you for offering up your platform, man. It's super awesome. And thank you for coming through today, man. Jeff, he gonna be here regardless, because I called Jeff. I say, Jeff, I'm about to sneeze. He'd be like, all right, for sure. I'll be there. How many hankies you need? He literally said, how many hankies do you need? Listen, how you say it, Jeff? When you said it?
Hankies is the technical term. Look it up.
See,
that is how they say it at MIT.
I'll say this, like, as far as like how everything goes, like, my wife allows me to do all this stuff. Not gonna hold you. If it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be doing any of it. But for what you were just saying, as far as like grounding things in the real world, my wife is the realest person that I know. Like, she's unapologetically herself. She's an amazing judge of character. Like, she peeps game way before me. Like, I'm just like, yeah, sure, give him a chance, give him another chance, okay. But like, she's immediately drawn to you guys. Like, she loves listening, love your space, like immediately. And so, her giving the green light was all that I needed. So,
man, that's amazing. That's amazing. And we're thankful, man. We really do appreciate it. Since we shouting out wives, you know what I'm saying? Shout out to the Wiz. You know what I'm saying? You my boo. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? I don't care. You know what I'm saying, girl? Hey, if you see this girl, you want to go on a date? Do you like me? Yes or no? Circle one.
Yes, no, or maybe.
Or maybe if she writes in maybe, I'm gonna be devastated.
Speaking of like peeping game before, right? I didn't say this before, but my wife is into spirituality. I'm 100% not, right? But she is. So I respect her faith, her, if you could call it that, but her beliefs. And it has paid off in dividends because of the same thing that you said, Santana. Like, she will say to me stuff that I'm like, oh, she watching my sex. Stuff will happen. And you know, we've all been through it, especially in this big. And she'll be like, watch for that.
Yep.
And it'll be something where, like, I didn't see that. And then I'll look and I'm like, oh, how does she peep that? And it's, she'll say things like, the universe will tell you X, Y, or Z. And for me, I'm like, oh, okay, hey, I'm not gonna knock it because it's saving me at the time. Well, and I know we're going to talk more about this, but the result is there. So I'm just like, yeah, I got the lesson there is listen to your wives. Out there. So don't not listen to your wife.
Yeah. I mean, you find out the hard way if you don't. I know I have.
Man, I don't never listen to my. Anyway, oh, no, you can't make me do nothing. No, absolutely true. Absolutely true. All right, now if you betas are tired of being sappy about your wife, I'm just kidding. Let's get into the meat and potatoes, man. I teach, or we talk. I don't like that people are like, you're a teacher, even though I like literally teach classes, right? Like it feels more like I'm preparing to do a thing like, hey, did y'all hear about structural function? Hey, did y'all know about structural functionalism? Right. But I talk a lot about like Black liberation, about the Black plight, about, just Black experiences. And one thing that cannot be denied is that the Black church has played an instrumental part in civil rights. Like we just can't deny that shit. Even during slavery, people would congregate at church to plan revolts. They would plan revolts. They would plan escapes. The Black church was a place for Black folks to be free. And so before I ask the big question, my next question is, do you think that the Black church still holds that same utility for Black people? Jeff, you go first.
It depends on which Black church. I would say overall, no. The reason is that the way that oppression takes shape now is different. It's a little more insidious. In the past, there was a clear distinction between like who's in the field and who's in the house. It's geographical. Like you're here, you're here. Now, the people that's in the house is living next door to you. Right? And so like you go to church and there are people there who are trying to break things apart, who are trying to like cause the harm from within. And there are people who run the church who will also pass by a message of like that pacifies you. They'll align themselves with like political powers that want to harm the community. So by and large, I would say no. That doesn't mean that every Black church is like that. There are Black churches you'll find where it's still community based. There are still pastors out and reverends out there that are true believers. I may disagree with the method, right? But the motive is still, for some of them, is still good. But I would say by and large, no. I don't see anything except for something I would warn about. Like if it's one of those like, be careful going in there because that person is saying things that are subtly anti-Black or subtly almost like traps for the community and anti-revolution, anti-liberation, but it seems good. It seems like, hey, here's the Jesus that's going to save you while helping the cage open.
Okay. First thing I want to ask you is, are you saying that coons are ruining the church, for everybody? Is that what you're saying?
Well,
go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, essentially. No, I mean, and all kidding aside, it's, again, when I say in the house, y'all know what I mean.
Yeah.
Right. And if I'm in the field and I see somebody in the house looking at me, I could see that. Right. I joke around sometimes when we're on live and I'll tell somebody, I could see you coming out the police station eating a pizza, but you don't ever see that person. Right. It's very rare that you see that person. And that's a caricature of what happens in the church. Every time you go on and you see a pastor that says, God bless, insert politician name here. I don't care which one. What they're saying is, hey, you should put your faith behind this person. And typically it's not one of the community members. That's not what they're uplifting, right? They're not looking for addressing like disparities or injustices. They're saying, they're giving you a kind of like pick you up by your own bootstraps kind of thing, and then elevating this person over here as the person who's going to save you while they are taking away resources access, any kind of notion of equality, whatever thing that is. So to me, it's a mixed message, but the opening to it is some sign off to someone that, like, we shouldn't be trusting. You know what I mean?
It's the snake oil salesman. And sorry, I don't want to alienate Black Christians. It's not my job to sit here and poo-poo on you for believing in your God. I'm just curious about how this works. Santana, before I ask you the same question, you encounter more Black conservatives than I think all of us combined.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think is the overlap between Black conservatives and either churches or this kind of Christo-nationalist influence?
Submissiveness. Like, that's what it is. Yeah. It's funny, like, listening to all of it. It's interesting. The one thing that I think I'm pretty good at talking to any and everyone except a Black conservative. All right, specifically Black men. They're the ones that get under my skin the most. And those are the ones I have the hardest time speaking to. And I think it's because I see myself in them, right? I'm always going to try to lead with kindness with Black people, right? Because I love Black people. But then you have someone who is openly advocating for like things that are like harmful to Black people as a whole, and then using it under the guise of like, religion, right? We have to stay super close to our faith. Then, we have to conserve our spirituality, and these people are demons and all this other, like, it irritates me so much. But when you talk about like the mandate for Christianity and then the mandate for conservatism, it's being submissive, right? And it's kind of like what I was going to tie in for I was listening to Jeff and then getting ready to speak to the question. But hot take, there can never be Black liberation with Black churches being at the forefront, period. Never. Because again, yeah, the point that I was just going to make is that as far as Black people and religion, they teach you that, like, hey, going to church and being religious and believing in Christianity is about believing in sights unseen. It's about putting all of your trust and faith. Like, you were always told that if you pray, you can't worry about something. You just have to let it go because God got it, right? And so your whole thing is, I'm not in control. There's a higher power in control. So I have to sit back, Jesus, take the wheel, right? And that's submitting yourself to saying like, hey, this entity knows better than me. So I'm just going to submit to this entity and let it guide my life. And Black conservatism, like the Republicans, they're specifically ran by a small group of people who only do things to benefit them, but they want everybody else to buy in. And the one line that I always talk about is, I know you guys aren't political, but the saying is Democrats fall in love and Republicans fall in line. And that's true, right? Republicans will fall in line each and every time. That's why, like, even now you see a lot of people who say Trump is doing this, he's doing that. I can't believe he's doing that. I'm really da-da-da. And then they just vote for the stuff that he wants. Because Democrats fall in love and they have to fall in love with someone. And if they don't fall in love with their candidate, they can't vote for them. They can't support them. They can't do any of this. But with Republicans, they might J.D. Vance called Donald Trump modern day Hitler. And now he's his vice president. Like, he fell in line. So the point that I'm saying is, in order to for Black people to engage in like religion and Christianity as a whole, and not Christian people, right? Because I heard Solid, you say like, oh, I don't want to upset Christians. Again, for me, Christians versus like Christianity is the same way that I talk about like government versus people. I always say people like, Bibi Netanyahu is a war criminal, Israel is a terrorist state, and free Palestine until it's backwards. I'm talking about Israel, the government, the entity. I'm not talking about Jewish people. But now if Jewish people actually support the fuck shit that's happening, then I'm talking about you. And so I always separate like Christianity from the Christians, because you can believe in a higher power, you can believe in God, but you don't have to believe in what the church is doing, because the church is preaching downfall, is preaching being submissive, is preaching like pay your tithes, come in, be quiet. Like the pastor will lead you, you are sheep and this is my flock. So it's all intertwined as far as being submissive.
Okay, I'm going to complicate this, as Peach would say. I'm going to complicate this because, I feel the same way about liberalism, right? And you and I have talked, not like ad nauseum about this, but I have like implied how I feel about this. I was talking to Jeff this morning, matter of fact, and I was thinking of this metaphor. Now, hear me out. There's a boxing match about to happen. If I win the boxing match, Santana, you don't get to eat for a week. If my opponent wins the boxing match, you get to eat for 3 days. Who are you rooting for?
The opponent.
The opponent, right? Because 3 days of food is better than no days of food. What if I told you that my opponent was a mannequin? Who are you rooting for now?
It's the opponent. I still got to eat.
Still the opponent. Because based on the off chance, even though the mannequin can't defend itself at all, it's a mannequin. Or maybe like if there was some like weird science type shit going on, but the mannequin can't defend itself at all, but we're still going to root for that mannequin because some food is better than no food, right? And when we talk about submissiveness, don't you think it's submissive to sit there and hope that by some off chance, this mannequin will be able to do something about us starving for a week, as opposed to us all just bum rushing the stage, beating the shit out of me and just grabbing the food for ourselves? You know what I mean? And that's not necessarily a dig. It's just I had so much trouble putting into context, putting into words, or describing in a simple way what it's like watching my people continue to hope that a savior is coming instead of relying on each other, who would definitely all, if everybody in our TikTok followership jump me, I'm losing. If they jump me, I'm losing. I'm getting mollywopped, okay? I'm talking about belt to ass. The same way where if all of the workers banded together to feed themselves, an oppressive regime doesn't do shit to that. You know what I mean? I don't give a damn how many times you talk to a Kadunkachad and he brings up drones. It's just not going to happen. And this is my segue into, and I'm going to complicate this even further. What if? Go ahead.
Let me say this, because one thing that, like, while I absolutely engage in politics, right? I believe in electoral politics. I believe one of my favorite, my absolute favorite play is Hamilton. You guys know Hamilton? I fancy myself to be Hercules Mulligan.
I hate, what is it? Hamilton.
Really? I love it.
Well, okay. I like the King song. The King had the best song in the whole play, but.
Take a look at the help section in your Alexa app.
Who Alexa was that? Was that mine? Oh, okay. Shout out to the homegirl Lexi.
Yeah. But I fancy myself to be like Hercules Mulligans, right? And in the sense that I'm willing to engage in it. I'm willing, in your scenario, when you talk about the mannequin, I'm willing to root and support the mannequin while like looking over and like, if we all rush the mannequin, then, and waiting for the opportunity. And once we're there, like, I'm with it, right? I don't know. I think there are so many people, and I always look at it like this. There's so many people who don't really understand like how to get to the things and what the things are. And that's why I enjoy being around you guys and sharing space, because like I hear what you're saying, and I'm never going to say you're wrong because I think you're right. But I also think that not everyone is going to be receptive to your message and the way that like it happens. And so one thing that I've always prided myself on is being able to speak to people on different levels, right? I don't have the same conversation with the same people. And so like I'll always look to like grease the skids to get to where we need to be, understanding that like, Rosa Parks kept a pistol And it wasn't for like the slaves. It wasn't for the slave owners. It was for the slaves that fought back. So I don't know. That's why I don't believe in electoral politics as far as like it being something overall that'll work. But I'm willing to play the game until the board is flipped over, and I'm with the flipping. So
don't get it twisted. I don't think there's anything wrong with rooting for the mannequin.
Mm-hmm.
In the scenario that we're in, right? I don't think you really, like Jeff said to me this morning, I don't see how you can't root for the mannequin. If those are the options you're presented with, you know what I mean? My producer just asked a question. My producer, shout out to Patrice Yolanda Triceratops from HR, from corporate. She does amazing work. My producer just asked, hey, is it survival or is it submission or is it survival? And I think that there's a large component to just saying, hey, no, there's a survival in there. There is that, like, we've talked about this before too. Like, hey, my biggest problem with voting is that people stop, right? They stop. After they put their money on the mannequin, they stop.
Mm-hmm.
They stop doing things because, to your point, they're just going to sit there and wait.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody who's above me is going to handle it. And that's part of the thing, the intersection, excuse me, in this conversation between politics and religion for me is just, how long are you going to let go and let Trump? How long are you going to let go and let Biden? Like, I just don't understand that.
I don't think it is survival.
Okay.
And I'm gonna tell you why. You guys know the story about the lion and the chasing the rabbit.
No, I've never heard that story.
So it's a story about a lion.
Is this going to be about the monk? Is this going to be like the monk story?
No, this is not a monk situation.
Log out after okay.
No, this is so much simpler. So there's a lion chasing a rabbit, right? And the rabbit gets away. And the question in the story is, how did the rabbit outrun the lion? And it's because the lion is running for its dinner. And the rabbit is running for his fucking life. Right? The submission is running for your dinner. We're running for our dinner. That's rooting for the mannequin. Survival is running for your life. That means knowing, like, something's trying to kill you. Like, what do you know what I'm saying? Like, look, when you said I'm Hercules Mulligan, I knew exactly what you was talking about. When you said, hey, I believe in, and you said, put it in air quotes, because you're a smart dude. I know that. And that's the same as what you're saying, Solid. Like, you do the electoral politics and you stop. That's running for your dinner. That's saying, because even if the mannequin wins, you just said that's 3 days of food.
Exactly.
That means what do you got to do in 3 days is root for the mannequin again?
And hope that the same miracle that just happened is going to repeat itself.
Exactly. So the survival is running for your life means forget the mannequin. That's survival. I'm not dealing with this, because at any given 3 day span, I could die. 3 days. Look, we're old. 3 days goes by like it was Sunday 2 seconds ago.
I woke up this morning with no breakfast burrito and almost went to the ER.
Shout out to my nephew, just turned 7 today. A week ago, I was going to the hospital to cradle that little motherfucker. Like, hey, this is my first time meeting you. He's 7. Learning nouns and writing and stuff. Like, that's how fast 3 days goes. So I don't think it's survival. I think it is like, if it's survival, it's this illusion of like, hey, we're just doing this to survive for now. No, you're doing it you're running to die.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna push back just a little bit. One time I'm in the club. We in Kansas City. My wife is, she's sitting on, like, over by the stage. It's a stage. You know what I mean? The club is inside of a casino, so the theater doubles as a club. So she's over by the stage, and it's a guy trying to rap to her. Now, I don't hover. I don't helicopter over my wife. You know what I'm saying? I let her handle shit. But this particular guy isn't just talking to her, right? He's like damn near straddling her, right? He's got his junk on her hip. Okay. He's in there, right? I wait maybe about 3 seconds to see, like, okay, what decision is she going to make to handle it? I see she's uncomfortable. I go and I pick the dude up. I say, you not finna do that. He get to talking shit. He say, I'm not going for him talking shit. He go in and he grab his boy that's a little bigger. He hides behind his boy and talks shit, right? He is trusting that I'm not going to slide his boy. What make you think you got a lot of faith in what your boy is capable of, right? To me, him hiding behind his boy, if he could have handled himself, he would have just fought me square up, right? He just would have squared up, right? But he knew he was going to get his teeth counted. So he hid behind his friend. If you hiding behind his friend was survival, you know what I'm saying? But then, to your point, I think the survival also comes from, I don't know if it was submission or survival because he kept talking shit from behind his boy. I don't know.
Let me contextualize it, though.
Okay.
That is survival. That is survival because he's not going to die, nor is he entitled to what you were keeping him from.
True.
Right? With the food, if I'm take your wife out the equation and put resources to live in that bar stool and now pick me up and see if I don't have to, like,
I got to.
I have to, right?
Yeah.
I'm entitled to live and I won't live without that. So contextualizing it, like, you're not entitled to no woman. Like, even if she was not married, and we all know, dudes should know the signs of uncomfortable, right? If it's not enthusiastic, you should just know, like, we don't. We should. There should be 100 no's and one yes. This red pill nonsense is bullshit. You should know those signs because you're not entitled to that, and you'll wake up tomorrow without it. Mm-hmm. For real, you will. But food, water, roof, healthcare, those are things you need to wake up in the morning.
Facts.
I'll say,
okay,
I think there's an importance to understand, like, I think a lot of people lack the ability to understand the difference between survival and submissiveness. And a lot of people will say that they're looking to survive or they're only looking to submit. They're only looking for comfort. And they're unwilling to actually do something that's going to, like, possibly harm them or take food out their mouth or, whatever. And so understanding, like, I quantify survival is that if you're in a situation and any opportunity that you get to take that off ramp, you're going to take it. But until you get to that off ramp, you're just holding on until you can get there. Submission for me is just like, I'm comfortable. It's okay. It's not bad. But it's okay. It's better than, this, but it's okay. And, like, I do see a lot of that, especially in electoral politics and, on the left, people. That's why I tell people all the time, if you're someone that's just saying, oh, I want things to get back to normal. I want things to get back to before Trump. Oh, I would love for Barack Obama to, if Trump ran, Barack Obama to run against him. I'm like, no, that would be the worst thing in the world, because, like, you're moving backwards. You're trying to get to a status quo instead of trying to actually progress and make things better for everyone. And so, like, I think there's a big difference, but I'm not going to, like, I understand both of you as far as the position that you're both taking.
My biggest thing is, I feel like we are trained to get there. And each one of you, the two of you, have described in your childhood being primed to go into spaces and be told that something outside of your realm of control is going to do some good for you. Whether it was like this real capitalistic sort of vibe where, like, if you're not rich, it's because you didn't pray hard enough. And if you're not rich, it's because you didn't give me enough money. Mm-hmm. You didn't put enough money in the plate, and that's why you're not rich. And I feel like if you get that, even if you don't really understand what's going on, that exposure does get soaked up. The exposure to and the conditioning that's associated with this really capitalistic model of Christianity or at least church it's priming. Here's where I want to get into the meat and the potatoes, right? Where are the dividends? What evidence is there for Black people that this idea of being saved by any higher power, a conservative government, a liberal government, where is this, like, where is the proof? Where is the proof that God has come to save us? Where is the R? Yeah, y'all choose. I'll tell you what, y'all fight it out between the two of you who responds first. I'm just going to.
I mean, Jeff, I could go, you can go, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so the one thing that I'll say, and we can, give and go, right? The one thing I'll say is like, religion doesn't require proof or dividends or anything to actually happen for it to be right. And that's why I love, like, Jeff's, what is the not the extinction tracker, or what is
The
it? The
extinction files.
No. What is it? The rapture? What is that?
Yeah, the rapture account.
That's why I love that, because you know what it is? Religion is just that. You know what? We're not wrong. We're just early. So that's the point of religion, right? So for them to say, like, for you to say, what's the return? Well, hey, you haven't prayed long enough. You haven't suffered long enough. You haven't given long enough. You haven't been faithful long enough. You got to keep doing it. Got to keep going. Got to keep going. And then when something does break, look at God. That's because you suffered. That's because you were long suffering. That's why you got that, because you know what? You fasted. You took all this time. You went through all this pain and torture, and that's what you were going to get. The good thing that you got, that's your return. So it doesn't require any type of tangible, realistic return. It just requires time. And as long as you give it time, it'll always be right.
That feels like when I'm told by a Kadunka Chud that if you are poor, it's because you suck. Yeah. Or you're not working hard enough. Despite the Bureau of Labor Statistics saying that the lower class works an average of 1.5 hours more than any other class, right? Mm-hmm. Their vision is, if you don't got it, it's because something wrong with you, not something wrong with the system. Jeff?
That's why everybody thinks that they got boots and they're tugging on straps. Because like, it's like, I got my boots. You better grab yours.
Right. Go get where your boots at. Jeff, you talk about the gambler's fallacy.
Man, you read my mind. Read my mind.
Do I know my brother? Or do I know my brother?
Yeah, that's really what it is, right? Like, you count the hits and ignore the misses. And this is kind of what happens within my community, which is everything good that happens, that's a blessing. And everything bad that happens, pray for it to become a blessing, right? And, say the dude at the bar, he gets behind his bigger friend and that dude gets slept. If he gets slept, how is he the guy? Right? He's not the guy, right? And so on one end, you have our God, who is the guy who's delivering us, but constantly gets slept, right? On the other hand, you have the God who's supposed to deliver us and is constantly sleeping us. One of those two is happening because the stuff ain't adding up, right? I had a buddy that was similar to that back in the day. Still good friends with mine to this day. Smaller dude, but he would do that. He would actually, there was a time where we were out and this dude saw, this is the craziest thing. He saw a woman's boyfriend get up from they were sitting at a table to dinner. He got up to go to the bathroom. My man got up from our table and went and sat with her and started talking to her.
Bold.
When Duke got out of the bathroom and seen my friend eating his food, talking to his girl, dude exploded. And what did he do? He went right back to the table. Now there's 4 or 5 of us. I'm a big dude. We all Samoan looking like we got up. That dude suddenly was like, French fries? I didn't want those French fries anyway. But my friend knows that he could do that because what's he going to do to us? that's my boy, right? Like if he just ate your French fries, that's just something you got to get over. Because I'm gonna tell him in the car, like, why you did that, you idiot? Like, what the fuck are you doing? But in that moment, I got his back, right? If you're gonna want me to worship a God, he got to be as good as the 4 or 5 of us that was at that table, right? When white dude come in and try to gentrify my neighborhood, you get up. What you mean French fries?
Mm-hmm.
You really wanted that hamburger? You wasn't gonna finish that hamburger. And white dude leave the neighborhood, and we keep our general store. Dude gets to stay a mechanic. He don't have to work like Willie don't have to work at Walmart as a greeter now. He can still be fixing my brakes, and the other person, they can still be growing their rutabagas and make their award-winning apple pie and all of that. That happens. But when the dude comes in, we got slept, right? That to me says either you a double agent or you just not good at what you're supposed to be good at, or you don't exist, or you
So
don't
you
exist.
okay. So those are our 3 options. Either you are benevolent, but not powerful, or you are powerful, but not benevolent, or you don't exist. That's where we're at.
Can I add one thing really quick?
Yeah.
I just want to say, like, I would be on my John Wick shit. Like, and I don't know, maybe it's just me, but like, and my wife has had to kind of check me on this a couple of times. I've been in a situation and I immediately think of a plan. Like, we were out having hookah one night, and there was I went to the bathroom, came back. Apparently, some guys tried to talk to her or whatever, and she was like, "No, no, no, no." I was like, "Oh, these guys." It was like 4 or 5 of them. I'm like, "All right, I'm gonna grab this hookah. I'm gonna smash it over this one's head. I'm gonna hit this one with a table." And then we're just gonna have to figure out the rest. I'm already coming up with a plan. I'm taking them all out. So we're gonna figure it out. But no, yeah, I just thought about that.
Yeah, man. Listen, you tell that French fry story, but somebody come after the whiz, I'm just gonna have to get my ass beat. That's yeah. And then that's a pod episode where I tell a story about how I got my ass whipped over some fries because someone was talking to my wife. And listen, and I'm gonna smile and say, "I love you, baby." You know, while one of my teeth dangle like that there. I'm just gonna have to.
I don't know, because
I love you.
I was listening to your story, because like I'm not someone that leads with violence, and I don't believe in violence, but like I'm super, like, certain situations, especially when it comes to my wife, like I don't play that. And like, you better than me, because you said you picked the guy up. I would have, like, my hands would have been around his neck, like straight choking him. I like
give people opportunities.
Oh, not me. No, not me. I got bail money though.
Yeah, no, I just would have been in jail.
I think,
and put out the army.
Look, I think French Fry Dude made the right choice.
Yeah,
because we would have whooped his ass. Like I'm not playing with you. We would have whooped his ass.
Yeah,
but we weren't. Like it's like when you approach a bear's den. He ain't trying to do nothing to you. A mama bear ain't trying to do nothing to you. She just saying, look, maybe you here by accident. Turn around. Mm-hmm. And so when my boy got back to the table and dude came over, we like, oh, no. Listen, now you realize you bit off more than you could chew. That burger's gone. Mm-hmm. Right? The right move is curse, scream, whatever, turn around and keep your consciousness and all of that good. Because, yeah, you could get your ass whooped, but you might fuck around, lose your girl. Women don't go for that. Like, if you unnecessarily, like, I don't know what it is about guys that they think that women want the John, like, we get programmed with the John Wick, right? And I know you probably didn't smash nothing over nobody's head, right? No. Like, you had to, you went through the thing. I know you would, but the thing is, about it. Yeah, but we get programmed with that, and in our head, we're like, yo, and then we have like that Mario Brothers end of the castle, like Princess Peach, you done stomped out all these people for me. Yay! When in reality, that car ride home would be like, you know how much the ambulance costs and this and that, and you should have just walked away. We had it. We was good. It's only a hamburger anyway. Now I got to take time off of work. So the right decision would be to Step
Yeah,
back.
just kind of,
Yeah.
dude. Okay, but Pete, and then we got to get off of the subject because this is just the most
When French
just
fries and
chauvinistic.
hamburgers. Hold
Just
on
like
now.
I'll fight my.
Well, now listen, I had a Whopper the other day and I smacked somebody in the mouth for it.
Yeah, I'm just let's slap somebody in the mouth with a Whopper. See, my technique would be to just eat the Whopper and then stand around for about 5 minutes, and then everybody would have just cleared out. But that is a reality. My wife actually did see me, and I did good too. I was so proud of myself. I'm talking about slept. I'm talking about the boy was gone. But on the car ride home, my wife says, "I'm just disappointed."
Yeah.
She says, I know that,
That's the worst.
That's what everybody knows that's worse. Yeah.
I'm just disappointed is the worst.
Literally the car ride home was just like, listen, I know you want to protect me. I know that, you didn't like the way that guy was talking, things like that, but I'm just disappointed. Granted, this is while I'm working on this PTSD thing, but like, in general, my wife has never been a fan of me being a squabbler.
Mm-hmm.
That's just, it's part of who I am, but it's not, you know what I'm saying? It's not attractive to her. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not really.
The one thing I'll say about my wife though is like she knows that I have that switch, but that's just because who I am. Like I've never been a talker. Like I don't do too much talking, but I never like supersede what she says. So she knows for a fact, like if she says no, then I'm not gonna do it. But if she doesn't get that no off in time, it's gonna happen.
You got to be quick.
Yeah. So if she let me react before she say no.
Yeah. No, to get us back on track, because I understand. To get us back on track, though, I don't think Christianity in general is against violence. I don't. But I do think that Christianity has been used to encourage docility and nonviolence in the Black community. Now, this is the last little tidbit we're gonna get into before we wrap up. But even though I'm deconstructing, I can find myself thinking less of certain actions that are absolutely reasonable because of my Judeo-Christian conditioning. For example, docility. Good Samaritan is like, okay, turning the other cheek. Even though I'm not a cheek turner. I mean, sometimes, but you know what I'm saying? If I got a good pair of shorts on, ha! You see that? But there's no, for me, even when I see it, even sometimes when I'm justified, like I should be fighting, I feel bad and guilty myself for not being more permissive, more submissive. A great deal. Santana, you asked me like where I get a lot of my calm from. And I've been dealing with fascists for so long that it's true that I just understand how people tick. I understand what people want. It's also true that sometimes that hope is there that someone will miraculously care about my humanity. And so I give people the benefit of the doubt when I really shouldn't give some people, and I'm going to bleep this, but some dudes will jump up and they'll go, and I'll be like, okay, but do you want to debate though? You know what I mean? Because my hope is that I could Gypsy Warrior. Are y'all familiar with him? Gypsy Warrior is a devout white nationalist. He spent a lot of time, I want to say it was Omegle. He would troll on Omegle. Omegle?
Yeah.
Omegle, Haagen-Dazs Incorporated. He would troll, or it might have been chat roulette. I don't know. But he would troll and he would seek Heil. He had a gun that instead of the banner popping out and saying bang, it popped out and said Nick. He paints his face in Joker makeup. He wears a Joker costume, and he's just trying to gain infamy and fame in these white supremacist circles simply by being super hateful and super harmful to anybody non-white. Gypsy found my live, and you know what kind of live streams I hold. It was either the white people question mark live or black people can't be racist. Can't remember which one. But he found me, he DM'd me, and he says, now this man is on an FBI watch list for trying to do domestic you-know-whatism.
Mm.
And I'm up here pleading to his humanity. Hey, man, you believe in a lie. Everything you believe is a lie, man. And I feel bad for you. You're just lonely and you need a community. And you never would have felt like this it's time for you to leave this shit behind. Did you know that most white supremacists they leave the Hammerskins or their whatever their gangs are by the age of 32 because they're tired of not having a family and they're tired of getting arrested? And I'm really talking to this absolute kadunkachud on a human level. I'm really trying to get past the humanity, to get through to the humanity of this absolute fascist who sees me as inhuman, non-human at all. And I kick myself for that because fascists don't deserve I'm talking, listen, it's important to remember how fascists became fascists. It's important to keep that in mind, to be strategic, to prevent people from falling into fascism, to try and pull people away from fascism is a worthy goal. But a full-fledged white nationalist, someone whose purpose is to cause you harm for being black, someone whose purpose is to cause you harm for being a woman, someone whose purpose is to cause you harm for being gay, for being trans, they gain joy from it. Remember, they used to string us up. They used to string us up and eat food. Sometimes we were the food and take pictures.
Wait, solid. Yeah. Where were they coming from before that?
Church. Santana just froze. I just said church and made Santana freeze.
That was crazy.
Where were they coming from before that?
Church.
You know what I'm saying? Like, hey.
Did God just
maybe he is real. Hold on. My bad. Look, hey, my bad, dog. No,
but look, it's funny, but why you using your power to do that? You know what I'm saying? Like, why you do, of all the things you could do, there's children starving, and you chose to do that.
Man, hungry out here. You freezing my shit.
You see what I'm saying? You see what I mean by even if the motherfucker's real, I don't, like, look, I don't give a fuck, because all you gotta do, man, is say, hey, I'm super powerful. Here's some food. But
voila.
you do parlor tricks.
I was taking a nap. Oh, baby's got cancer. Oh, my bad.
Look, solid. I went to a dinner with my wife, like a function.
Yeah.
And they had I'm not going to say I'm not going to shout out the group because they are a good group, but it was kind of funny because at the table, a lot of us is atheists.
Yeah.
Some of them closet atheists, but it's people that I've spoken to. And they did a prayer before this dinner. And it was a business group. So it's like, I hope everybody has profit and this and your ventures and blah, 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 blah. Amen. And under my breath, I said, so nothing for the starving children? Okay, cool. Because that's what it is. Like, yo, I found my keys. Yay! In the Heights. Hey, we woke up today and it was supposed to rain, but it only rained for 10 minutes. Gracias a Dios. Like, really? You know? Like, we had to go 10 blocks this way, 5 blocks that way, take a train, go this way, blah, 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 to get paperwork so that the old lady 2 blocks over could get Medicaid or Medicare to sign off on her having a walker. Not a wheelchair, a walker.
A walker.
Gracias a Dios. Bro, like in the Extinction Files, I go over what started my deconstruction. And I always like to say I started my deconstruction over a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. But it's because if it was me and I'm like, hey, these are my people, you don't get a walker, you get to walk.
If it was me to be walking, if it was me, racism would not exist.
Mm-hmm.
there just got to be a better system. You mean, wait, hold on. You mean to tell me I'm omniscient and omnipotent? If I wanted to, I could design a system where pain is not part of the equation at all.
Mm-hmm.
And I could still get my goals accomplished. What I still want is love. Just design a system. Slim. There's got to be a video game metaphor in here somewhere. Y'all, excuse me. We are rounding the end of the bases. We fucking lost Santana. All right. Why? Because they don't want you to know. Who is this they? Never gonna say. I'm just gonna say they so that you think that there is a they and not just technical fucking difficulties. Jeff, pluggables?
Look, Santana that you saw on this podcast sponsored the mother of all discounts for the Extinction Files. So if you go to endofaspecies.com, you will see that the normally $5 a month Extinction Pass is now $2 a month. And that's powered by Santana Jones. So thank him when you see him. Whether you see him on TikTok, whether you see him on any platform, just say, hey, thanks, Santana, and go get you your Extinction Pass subscription today.
Santana, do you have pluggables, brother? We didn't want to let you go without getting your pluggables off.
Yeah, no. Just the one thing I'll say is it's been a pleasure. It's super interesting to have this conversation because I think a lot of people have like a misconception about me as far as like what I do or don't believe or whatever when it comes to like religion. And the one thing that I know for sure is don't nobody know shit, right? I mean, like that's my biggest thing. And people who say, oh, like I know my religion is right or I know this is real or like how? Like how do you know? And I always say that maybe like it's a thing of comfort or whatever, like it's a warm blanket. But the premise of who I am is not defined by a religion or, you know, walking on water or raising people from dead or anything like that. It's just literally from one of my favorite shows, which is My Name is Earl, right? And that's just, you know, I believe in you do good shit and like good things are just going to come back around. You do fucked up shit is you're going to get fucked over. And so only pluggable I'll say is for anybody watching, do something kind. Like literally the sign I have right here in my office, it says work hard and be nice to people. So just work hard and be nice to people.
Yeah. What I hear you saying is do something good for your neighbor.
Yep.
On that note, all power to all the people except for Ralph. Do something good for your neighbor. Ubuntu, viva la raza. Throw more bricks.
For the proletariat. For the proletariat. For the proletariat. For the proletariat. For the proletariat.